I really do. Hello!
Hi.
I'm Ali, founder of Brixton Finishing School in the Academy, an adventure and a collaborator on Visible Start. I'll come on to that. Hands up if you graduated from Brixton Finishing School. Oh my God, look, lots of people to chat to. Hands up if you sponsor or partner or support Brixton Finishing School. By the end of this, the whole room will hopefully have their hands up. That's what I hope. I've got a presentation. I've got 15 minutes where I'm going to unveil a sneak preview of our annual survey on barriers to entry to the industry. And then I have the absolute privilege of welcoming up for the next 15 minutes a panel of my esteemed graduates who just sat over there, Tahlia, Holly and Priscilla. So I'll start, I'll whip through, and we'll do like a swap over in the middle. So, ba-bam. Okay, start-wise. Oh, I can see what's coming up. This is good. So my title was, How Do We Identify and Retain Future Media Leaders? And I noticed in the kind of précis for this, there was lots of stuff around people used to come to the industry because it's cool and you get lots of wellbeing. I'm pleased to say my research does not show that at all. That's not the reason why my talent was entered the industry. I'll come to it later, but heavyweight figure is the number one thing: white talent, black talent, and any other multicultural talent wishes for is diversity in a company they're looking for. So that's the number one thing that will make somebody under the age of 25 decide to work for you. And let's face it, in the current talent crisis, gap, whatever, disruption, we desperately need great people to join our companies. And we desperately need to improve the blend of our talent pipeline as well. So if we know the number one thing people are looking for, ahead of foosball tables, or I don't know, puppy petting days, or whatever other well-being things we do, is the fact that workforce reflects the citizens in our country, then I think that's a really good place to start. So I'm going to look at what the next generations of leaders think about the industry. Obviously you'll hear a bit more there. What do we need to change, and what actions are being taken at the moment that seem to be helping a bit to stem the tide and increase people joining the industry? So first of all, I'm going to use some gifts later, I hope they work. Those of you that don't know as well, I set Brixton Finishing School up in about, I think it was 2017, 2018 we had a pilot, and it's an accelerator that identifies incredible talent from multiple intersections. They could be white working class, socially mobile, they could be black, they could be Bangladeshi, they could be non-white, they could be neurodiverse, they could be a mixture of most of those things if you wish. And very quickly we discovered an award-winning transformation formula that finds talent through a massive outreach campaign, works with our partners, which some of you are in this room, to train that talent, and then we place the graduates of our courses in roles of that talent. So that was the initial course. Since then, we've built out a series of products which are essentially a change-making engine. We have Adventure, which is aimed at 14 to 18-year-olds across the country, playing back to what Ira and Pauline mentioned about coming together as an industry to create change. This is very much, we're aiming to hit 100,000 14 to 18-year-olds nationwide in the next 12 months with talks and encounters from industry members to basically say, this is a destination for you, it's accessible, it's attainable. And the focus for this is on the 80% of roles that aren't creative. So I believe as on a kind of media and digital conference, that's very relevant. The next bit is the Ad Academy, which was a reaction to COVID. So way back in April 2020, I was reading The Guardian. I used to work with Simon at The Guardian many years ago to spot him. And Polly Toynbee was saying about how 2/3 of graduates were about to lose their jobs and not get opportunities. I thought, well, if that's graduates, imagine about the communities I care about. How, sorry to use the word, crap their outcomes are going to be. So we set up a national virtual school, which really plays into the location poverty people have talked about. So if you're in Grimsby, Hartlepool, the west of Scotland, you on your phone can go through an award-winning curriculum designed to accelerate employability. You can join us for live employability weeks, and then you can win a role in the industry, which lots of people have. And lastly, I'd like to give a big shout out for Visible Start, which is our initiative for women over 45. very much again aimed at multicultural women and women who are white and socially mobile. It's powered by WPP and it's a collaboration with the awesome Jane Evans of the Owen Visibility Project. So that's the engine. I'm going to show my first gift. It's a new superhighway, says SpongeBob. I didn't realise that the second bit was going to be said on this gift because I was rushing yesterday, so ignore that. Essentially, we're building a new superhighway for talent from groups that haven't been well served to walk into the industry. This is what it looks like. Confusing, not beautiful, but this is me, the PowerPoint. Adventure engages people. Ooh, I could get a job. They see messaging as they get older through many one of partners or outreach campaigns. We work with community people, partners, education to suck people into one of our change-making initiatives. They then are supported into placements, and then they arrive in the industry. And then we're going to move into retaining them, which we'll come on to later in our panel. But going back to the reasons we need this massive rewiring of the structure at scale, is because we have really low awareness, number one, of our industry. So to give you a fact, 1 in 4 graduates, this is an IPA survey, sorry if you already know it, 1 in 4 graduates say there's no money to be made in the ad industry. Now, I know that's not true because I can afford a breakfast sandwich occasionally. And I also know that if 1 in 4 grads are saying that, and they've left the house and they've seen over the horizon, what are the people who aren't graduates saying? They don't even know we exist. So I'm using a Hogwarts motif. It's quite festive, actually. I got quite into Hogwarts. You're more likely, if you're like a muggle, I'm a muggle, I'm not going to know Hogwarts exists because I'm not the wizarding fraternity. Can you see where I'm going with this analogy? The elite and the non-elite, aren't I? So basically, we've been a bit like Hogwarts for too long, and we need to be a lot more like, I don't know, just normal school. So I want to kind of open up access and awareness to the industry, and that's why I want to do adventure. Now, the industry is also perceived as really unattainable, and I apologise for this, but I'm using the Duke and Daphne as two unattainable things. One, the lifestyle of Bridgerton is unattainable, but also just Duke and Daphne are unattainable, aren't they? So the reason that it's viewed as unattainable, so even if you've heard of us and you think, oh right, I wouldn't mind going into advertising, lots of people do this. They go, I want to go in, but, and then they'll come up with a narrative about why they're not going to pursue that opportunity. So for example, Creative Access came out with some research yesterday. 82% of people from the socially mobile and underrepresented background said, I won't even apply for a job if I'm worried if there's not going to be enough money for me to do the commute, get there, afford what I need to wear. And that's in our industry, 82%. So that's even if they've heard of us, they're talking themselves out of it. 35% of my graduates say they believe their race, obviously this is 0% for the white students, their race would make a career unattainable in this industry, I'm going to look at my stats now, because this is all new data, so bear with me. Role model-wise, so you've got like, can I do it? Or no, I'm not going to be able to afford to do it. Partly because, especially in creative, we all know the starting salaries are falling. We also know from a kind of, I want to get in, how do I find work experience? Well, we don't really advertise work experience, do we? We normally, not saying you guys do it, because you're in the room talking about diversity, so I presume you're pretty good, you're trying. But a lot of people will just give work experience to their boss's son or something, won't they? In terms of free internships, so say you've kind of thought, I'm going to get in, and they go, yeah, you can do it, we'll give you a chance, it's a 3-month internship, it's not paid. Well, what are you going to do then? Well, you can't take it, can you? So that's a class thing. So there's lots of reasons why, even if you know about it, you're going to talk yourself out of it. There is one bit of good news here on here. So I did this survey, we did it March 2020, and Mel Metro Media did it again with us, so I realised I've got 6 minutes. About 3 months ago. In terms of attainability when it comes to role modelling, 18 months ago, only 42% of my students, 42% of my graduates said, I can't see anybody like me in the industry. And obviously we know the industry's done a lot of work over the last 18 months, and now that's only 25%. So I'd like to say when we do invest in change, it does change, and I think that's a really positive figure. But I think the other things I've shown you show how much change we need to do. So let's move on to another gift. Access! Yay! So you're like, okay, you're aware of it, you've got in, how do I access it? Well, okay, back to Hogwarts, I'm sorry. But isn't that young Harry so cute and he's grown up so much now? Is that kind of thing where you think, I'm going to do it, I'm going to be brave enough? No, it is attainable. How do I get in? And maybe you don't know anybody in the industry. We know that if you have a family or friend in the industry, you're 12 times more likely to get in. There's just no clear, direct route in. So I think we do need to come together to clearly signpost how we get in. And one of the big things around this is our students' last survey, 72% said not knowing the right people would mean there's access difficulties. That's now 71%, so that's a 1% difference, which is, still a difference. There you go. So I think there's lots of challenges there. I also think there's lots of kind of good stuff happening. What's the next one? But when we do get it, and I'm going to echo some of Narelle's points earlier from downstairs, if anybody saw the need for presentation, we've got terrible retention challenges. This is supposed to be gold dust going through our hands, but you can tell my creative budget was quite low yesterday when I put this together. If 22% of our Asian employees are thinking of leaving immediately, and 27% of our black employees are, according to the All Means All survey, we can't afford that. That's, A, we don't have enough to start off with, but B, isn't that just terrifying? That 1 in 4 people, because of their particular characteristics, are just like, I'm out as soon as I find something else to do. We're just coming out of a pandemic where the job market's picking up. What if there's suddenly shift, we lose another load of amazing talents? Or as Pauline, and I think Steve mentioned to Pauline, another industry like fintech, salaries are better, go early on, nix them. We're in a real crisis point, so I think we need change. However, it's not all bad news, because obviously we've got Brixton, but I've got some young people, young talents, not so young now, are you? You're all mid-20s. Some amazing talent, sorry, my age, everybody's young to me, I do apologise, to talk about what we can do. But I think to sum up on those stats, they're really just a preview. We're going to have a proper playbook of all our results. And they look at the data we've gathered, they split them via class, they split them via ethnic background, and also we've got lots of qualitative data. So if you think about what we do, we placed, it's about 250 people in the last 3 years across the whole of the industry. So we're in a very, very privileged position of actually having a kind of a network that can give us data across the industry and also trusts us, to be honest, as well. I don't know if any of you guys have ever filled in an employee survey and been aware that you're the singular person in that bracket. I remember filling in a survey once and I was the only female 35 to 44, this was some years back, with a child. And I just knew, that was it, I was the only one on the floor. I knew as soon as I ticked that box, it was really easy to correlate my frustration, which is, I was frustrated in the survey, back to me. So obviously you doctor your answers. I think we're very lucky that we have a clarity of vision on that, and we're willing to share that anonymised. So if you are interested in exploring a bit more the data, let me know. Daniel, do you want to kind of do a hello? This is Daniel from Brixton. Yeah, we're going to come around the next